So I wanted to share a little bit about me, the journey that I've taken to get to this point of offering you this program. And I'm not going to tell you my whole life story, but I did want to touch on a couple of key moments in my life that led me down this path. So when I was 19, I was studying a Bachelor of Arts in Media and Communications, and I came across this documentary. It was called Born into Brussels, and it was based in Calcutta, and it broke my heart. And I witnessed in that documentary the cycles of poverty that exist in the world. And I thought that instead of journalism and writing, which is what I had been studying to report on these issues, I wanted to be more on the ground, working with people. So I signed up for my first ever volunteer gig overseas, where I was placed with a group of Australian volunteers and Canadian volunteers, and we went to the really small rural community of Laman Bay in Epi Island in Vanuatu, gorgeous part of the world, and we were there for 2 months. This was my second time overseas, and it was my first volunteer experience. I didn't know anyone else. I wasn't really sure what I was in for. And I guess it was my first experience of a community group project where we were working towards a common goal. The experience was amazing. Me and the other volunteers were living in one of the rooms of Akama Primary School, which was the only primary school in the village, and we were working with the community to build a school teacher's house to get more placements of teachers there. And we also found an old room which was virtually a storage unit, and we turned it into a library. This experience of being immersed in a new culture and immersed and part of the community was incredible. And it instilled in me a real passion to delve further into the community development world. I came back from that trip and I started volunteering with Oak Tree Foundation. I had the opportunity to travel to Timor-Leste and Papua New Guinea and be part of some community development projects there that were focused on youth and education and capacity building. So by the time I was 21, I had had these incredible eye-opening experiences and lots of practical grassroots experiences. But I wanted to focus a bit more on the theory. So I went back to study and I did my Master's of International Development and Social Science. And I got to do a field placement in Guyana. Again, another education project working with young people. And then to finish my degree, I did an exchange in the Philippines. The Philippines was a roller coaster. I ended up living there for about 9 months and I met amazing people, really beautiful hearted friends that I'm still in touch with today. And I got to do some community projects, particularly in the field. But my first time living overseas for that long a period, I definitely faced some challenges. And what I realized in hindsight is that my time in the Philippines came on the back of some pretty jam-packed and difficult years. Since coming back from Vanuatu, I realized that I had been go, go, go. I was jam-packing my days full of study and part-time work and socializing and volunteering, and it was like I had this strange relationship with time where I felt like I was running out of time and I had to cram so much in. And what I've come to realize is that during that time I was playing out some pretty intense coping mechanisms for what I experienced in some childhood trauma. When I was younger, my way of dealing with some traumatic experiences was to disconnect and to numb from my body. So what that meant was that I dissociated from my body and lived predominantly in my mind. I treated my body like a vessel just to get from A to B. And I was living so much in my mind and so much in the future, I wasn't actually present. If I was with my body, I would be present here and now. But I was constantly thinking, I was constantly overanalyzing, and I was really in this striving forward motion. I sometimes refer to it as I had this outward posture that was like this. I was constantly looking out and not connected in with myself. It was during all these years of jam-packing my days and my weeks and my months that I was striving for productivity. I was striving to prove myself to my family, to the industry that I was trying to forge a career in, and ultimately feel a sense of worthiness. So on the back of all of those years, I found myself in the Philippines, and I end up in a motorcycle accident that caused me to be off my leg for 6 weeks. It was an injury to my right knee. And I kind of see that time in my life now as the universe gently, forcefully telling me to slow down and find a pause. And I had not taken even a pause or a break between projects and between trips. I ended up returning to Melbourne, and as you can imagine, I was quite flat and quite burnt out and not myself. I was really questioning the field that I'd been pursuing. So then in stepped my friend who was actually the team leader of the project in Vanuatu. And she invited me along to a women's circle. Now, this women's circle, I didn't know what to expect, but I trusted my friend who was also in the community development field, and she understood burnout and she understood feeling jaded from an industry. So she invited me along to a women's circle that was held in a community hall. It was actually held at Dance House for those of you in Melbourne. And I remember walking in, these gorgeous floorboards that were lit up with the sun that was shining through, and the facilitator came up to me and she had this gorgeous welcoming hug and this beaming smile, and there was music playing in the background. I saw a djembe drum in the middle of the room, and for the next 3 hours we played and we danced and we expressed. There was not much talking at all, really, not from me or the other participants. It was the facilitator really inviting us to be with our bodies. I ended up dancing and stomping and rolling around and laughing and also feeling really deeply, and probably for the first time in a while, the amount of anxiety and stress that I had been holding. It has become my belief that our bodies experience everything that we go through and we store it if we don't have avenues to release it. So this women's circle, this workshop, gave me this avenue, and I poured it out of me. At one point, we collapsed on the floor and she brought out paper and pastels and pencils, and she asked us to capture our experience and anything that was going on for us at the time into a drawing. This day arguably changed the direction of my life. I remember going up to her afterwards just in awe. I think I'd been crying, and I remember going up to her and being like, what is this? Like, teach me your ways. And she did. She got me in touch with Anna and Daria Halpern from the Tamalpa Institute, pioneers of dance and art therapy based in California. And I, for the next 5 years, dived into this world of studying and going to weekly classes and seeking out mentors. I even had the incredible opportunity in 2013 to travel to America and meet Anna and Daria and lap up everything that they were teaching. When I came back to Australia, I enrolled in graduate certificate courses in somatic therapy, in performance, in the creative process, in movement, in expressive art therapies, in trauma-based movement therapy. I dived in deep, and I am so thankful, particularly to my teachers of Tiana, G.H. Soto, Anne O'Keefe, Amber Gray, Alice Cummins. Oh. So whilst I was diving into these studies and into my own practices and following my own mentorships, two things were happening parallel. I was continuing to work in the community development field, running youth programs here in Victoria, and I had incredible opportunities to meet amazing young people. And at the same time, I became pregnant with my daughter. I actually ended up finishing one of my somatic courses, doing my somatic course intensive actually when I was pregnant, and then finishing it when she was about 5 months old. And I brought her to one of the intensives, and the teacher invited her to, go in the middle of the room, and we all did tummy time at the same time as her, and we experimented with our own relationship with those primal movements and rolling around on the ground. My daughter is my greatest teacher. The experience that I had being pregnant with her, actually having to surrender, actually having to stop, actually having to adjust to my changing body, and at times I felt quite alien to my body, but also I felt really connected. I had to listen and follow suit with how I was feeling. It gave me this opportunity to be with all of my uncomfortable feelings and all of the fear that I had about transitioning into motherhood and letting go and saying goodbye to parts of myself that I had clung to so strongly as part of my identity. In 2016, I launched Intuitive Self, and at the time it was just a bit of a side hustle, really. I birthed it because I thought that I had found the perfect combination of all of my passions. I could still work with community groups and youth groups and be with people in real time. And I could also combine it with movement and art and ways to express and ways to come back to ourselves. These tools and resources that I have come to rely on, I could now share with others. And I had amazing opportunities to run workshops in primary schools, in kindergartens, after school programs, with teenage cohorts. They were just incredible. I also got to pursue myself as an artist. I became a member, I guess, of the alchemy community that Anne O'Keefe has been running in Melbourne for the last 20 years. I went there every Tuesday night for 6 years, and it was my home and my therapy. I did performances with other artists and had some amazing collaborations. All of my contract work stopped as COVID hit Melbourne in the early months of 2020, and over the last 2 years I have been so grateful that I have had the years of experience and practice that I've had in movement and art therapies to provide me with these tools and courage to lean into feeling and to have some anchors to come back to and to return to when I need to self-regulate, when it becomes difficult and overwhelming and anxiety-ridden in a scattered mind, to learn how to flow and adapt and come back to self time and time again when everything else feels too much. This is the reason the biggest reason why I am offering this course and this program to you is because I want to share these resources and tools and processes that have helped me so much and I've come to rely on daily. I really hope that you get something out of the course and that the processes resonate with you. From my heart to yours.